All right, so let's dig into a little small example here to get a better feel for how classes work. And then we'll go back to WickedlySmart Music and make use of them there. What I've got here is I've got a index.html file, which I'll open up and text edit. This is a very simple file that contains both the CSS for this page as well as the HTML. And so let's look at the HTML first. And this HTML is really just 4 paragraphs, each surrounded by P starting and ending tags. And so at this point, you should be getting pretty good at looking at HTML and starting to see the structure in it. Here, this is very simple. It's just 4 paragraphs. Now, if we take a look at the CSS, which is between these style tags, what I have is just 3 different rules. And these rules use a class selector. And we know that because of the period. So the first rule selects for the red class. And what it does is sets the background color of things selected by that selector to red. Likewise, for the white class, we set the background color to white, and we also set the foreground color or the text color to gray. And then for the blue class, we set the background color to blue, and we set the foreground color of text to white. So we've seen that all we need to do to make use of these classes is to add an attribute to the element, such as class equals red. We'll add that to the first paragraph. Let's add the same thing to the second paragraph, only let's make that white. For the third paragraph, let's make that blue. And for the fourth paragraph, we'll make that red again. So we've got 2 paragraphs belonging to red, one to white, and one to blue. Let's go to the browser and let's see what this looks like. So as we'd expect, we're getting the red background for the first paragraph. We're getting the white background, which is the same as the browser in this case, and the gray text in the second paragraph. We're getting the blue background in the third paragraph. And again, we're getting the red background in the last paragraph. And that's exactly what we would have expected. Now, if we go back, the great thing about classes is it's really easy for me to change these. For instance, I could set the first 2 of these to blue and the second 2 to white, save, and I've just totally restyled my page based on classes. And so you can think of, let's say you had a page that was in a store, you could very easily add, let's say, items on sale or items that belong to Christmas rather than Halloween or those sorts of things very quickly. And I'm sure you can think of your own relevant examples there. Now, one thing we've talked about is that these elements can actually belong to 2 classes. So let's say we want to put an element both in the blue class and in the red class. So let's do that to this first element. It's going to be in blue and it's going to be in red. Let's save. And so if you look at blue, it has a background color of blue and a color of white, whereas red just has a background color of red. And so we've got a bit of a clash here. Both of these are defining the background color. And so which one's going to win? Well, let's find out. Well, look at that. The page didn't change at all. And so why is that? Well, it looks like blue won because we don't even see any sign of red here. And so if you're asking yourself, okay, well, if I have a bunch of rules like that, how do I know which rules are going to win for a particular property? And we're going to talk about that very specifically coming up in just a couple videos. But let me make it just a switch here that will give you a little indication of how this partially works. I'm going to move blue to the top. And I'm going to go back and reload. And all of a sudden, that paragraph has gone red, although we have kept the white font color. So what's going on here? Well, again, just as a hint, it looks like the last rule in your style is the one that wins when there's a conflict. And so in this case, background color red was defined after background color blue. However, since the red class doesn't define a color white, well, then it's used. And so we end up with kind of a mix of the 2. So just put that in the back of your head and start thinking about how these different rules might interact together to provide styles for properties for the different elements in your page. And then we're going to come back and talk about that again in detail in a few videos. But for now, with that, let's get back to WickedlySmart Music and let's make use of some classes to fix that ID problem.